Easter also symbolizes that eternal life, doesn't it? Yeah. And did you notice, oh, the Pesach, the Passover, we're in the midst of Passover week, right? And what's that about? Oh, both Easter and Passover are centered around miracles. Yes, miracles. Yeah, miracles, the stuff that's not supposed to happen, nobody expects it to happen. You can't make it happen, but periodically they happen. And so these are, what people might consider to be huge miracles that happen with Passover, huge miracle that happened with resurrection, and everything leading up to it and afterwards. Many miracles. So we're celebrating what is holy. It doesn't matter what religion you follow, or what's your personal spiritual practices or anything like that. The important thing is it's holy. It's holy because we're celebrating that which is whole, that which is unbroken, undivided. So whenever we experience and celebrate a holiday, a holy day, it's to remind ourselves, oh yeah, as spirit, I'm totally, completely undivided, as are each and every one of you.
Now is the time, and here is the place, when all is good and divine. Why must you worry, put lines in your face, when all that you do is just fine?
A most joyous Easter holiday today to all of you. Hag Pesach Sameach as well. It's a gorgeous day here in Roseville where we live, and I just wanted to wish everyone an incredible celebration of Resurrection Day. It's interesting that more than any other time that in my life anyway, this is a time that the world really needs a lot of joy. And isn't that difficult at times when so many things are happening in the world that's not great, and in many ways very, very difficult. There's so much suffering everywhere, and yet that's when we need the light the most in the world, isn't it? It's when we need the most joy to have the celebration of life and to celebrate all that is holy, sacred, right? And this is what I love about holidays in general. I call them holy days. Yeah, that's where the word holiday comes from. It's a day to set aside to commemorate spirit, commemorate what is sacred in our lives. All life is sacred. And I particularly love Easter. Not only does it happen in the gorgeous spring in a lot of places, but also it's to commemorate resurrection and ascension. And I especially feel that the celebration of resurrection is so important because when I had my third near-death experience, just prior to coming back, returning to Earth, returning to this body, the final message I received in spirit on the other side is, okay, now you can begin your resurrection. And at that point, of course, I knew the dictionary definition of resurrection, the word, but I thought, oh, this is this is one of those experiences of, oh yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting. It's not a one-shot deal, and anytime in spirit you have an instruction or a message or something you receive that's like very simple. It's not really wordy. And so when I get, okay, you're heading back to start your resurrection process in earnest, if you will. Yeah, it wasn't even that complicated. It was just resurrection. And so in the prior two near-death experiences, when I returned, the first one especially was an absolute rebirth. And springtime symbolizes rebirth, doesn't it? Yeah. So every spring we all are reborn. Everything starts fresh. Oh, in our backyard here, I've so enjoyed and feel blessed that two whole mourning dove families have been making our backyard their sanctuary, their home. And one couple is the same couple of mourning doves from last year, right? They spent the whole last year from March through end of November with us. And they had 3 broods, 3 sets of hatchlings, and that grew up, flew away to have their own lives. And this year they came back. They came back early. They came back at the end of January 30th. And they went right back to the nest they built last year, which of course were, pretty thinned out by now. And the date palms in back of me there, you see some of that, the fronds. And so they rebuilt it and remodeled it. And mourning doves are not necessarily known for their architectural and interior designing abilities. So it's a basic nest, but they goosed it up. And they had their first 2 hatchlings about 2 weeks ago. And yesterday, the fledglings, it's amazing how fast they grow. The fledglings left their nest for the very first time. The day before was the only first day that the parents, until then, at least the mother or the father, was sitting on the nest and keeping them warm and feeding them and everything as hatchlings. And then one day I noticed from early morning the parents were gone all day. And I thought, oh, okay, they're getting ready to teach their young to, fly the coop or start learning how to do that. And so they did that. And yesterday they got out, they flew down to the ground, to the railing, up and back, and practicing, going between the ground and then their nest, and the parents still come and feed them and everything. But so this is part of spring, isn't it? It's rebirth, new birth. But on the 3rd time I came back from my near-death experience, I was warned, this is resurrection time. And of course Easter commemorates resurrection. So what exactly is resurrection? It's in the dictionary, it's basically raising from the dead. And from the outside, you could say, oh, near-death experience is a type of resurrection, isn't it? You're raised up from the dead. But in spirit, there is no such thing as death. So then what's resurrection from the spiritual perspective? Oh, resurrection, raising from the dead. Well, if you're not dead, why do you need to raise yourself from the dead? But what is the dead? Oh, remember, one of the things Jesus said was, let the dead bury the dead. What's that mean? Oh, we're not the body. So resurrection, on a general sense, is resurrecting yourself, the life that you are, from becoming the body, believing yourself as an individual separate body, and to raise your awareness and your energy and your life from strictly being a body and open up to the greater limitlessness and the eternity that is spirit, and that is who you really are. So that's what I start to experience and look at and explore much more upon my return from that third death experience. But then, as I learn more and more, what I really start to recognize is, what does that mean to realize, fully realize, not being a body? A body is an individual thing. You know, we call this physical vehicle we incarnate into each lifetime our bodies, right? But there's body of water. There's a body of water. And there's whatever is a thing unto itself. Whatever is considered a thing unto itself is a type of body, isn't it? So when you really look at it, even your thoughts, one thought is a body. It's got a beginning and an end. A word is a body. And the only place you can really have the experience of any kind of a body, any kind of a separate thing, is here, in this world defined largely by time and space. There's a beginning, spaces, there's a beginning and an ending of space. And from point A to point B, we call that distance. And then in time, we experience here in the body, in time, we experience, oh yeah, yesterday I did this, and today I'm doing this, and tomorrow I'm going to go there. And we make calendars, and we have appointments and schedule things. If we didn't do that, we wouldn't accomplish much of anything, yeah, at least in time and space. But in spirit, everything is eternal. Everything's totally forever and limitless, without beginning and end, which means it's changeless. Nothing changes. Everything just remains what it is forever and ever. Which means there's no death, there's no beginning, there's no birth, there's no death. And for some of you who haven't looked at this, the people think in terms of, is this a life or death situation? And they get, worried, freaked out, whatever, when they feel I'm in a life or death situation. But life or death is not really true. Because when you say something or the other, you're supposing they're opposites in a sense, right? And it's either this or either that. And you have to make a choice between the two. That's only here. In time and space, you have a choice to make. It seems like we have a choice between yes and no, between day and night. But between good and evil, between right and wrong, all those kinds of choices. But you'll discover in spirit, there is no such thing as choice. because you don't need it. It's completely limitless. And which means, in terms of time, everything's forever, which means nothing changes. And from a limited body perspective, that may seem boring. God, that would be like hard to deal with. You know, nothing changes. But if you think of it in terms of spirit, oh, there's nothing better, because you have awe. There's, I wouldn't call it everything because it's not a thing. There's eternity and infinity that you have all the time. So there is no such thing as darkness in spirit. There is no such thing as pain and suffering. That's only here. That's only in relationship to the body. So this is why it's so important when there is so many people, countless number of people are suffering, even as I speak right now, all over the world for a multitude of experiences that they're having. And it's when there's so much what we consider darkness in the world, when there's so much suffering and pain in the world, that's when those of us who are able to bring more joy into this world. That's our gift. And why I'm talking about this is because I know that even many of you tuning into this sometimes feel even guilty. If you're having a good time, if your life is great, if you're truly happy and celebrating, and then you remember, oh, but not everyone in the world is. In fact, probably the greater percentage of the world population is undergoing great hardships, and some hardships that it's hard to even imagine because it's so far away from your experience, and especially your experience right now. So sometimes when all of you are very, very sensitive, aware, you're waking up more and more every day, and you start to become so much more aware of not just what's going on with you and your loved ones right around you and, your immediate community. No, you start to become much, much more aware of what's going on all over the world. What's going on with every member of humanity. And then, of course, there are many of you who are lovers of nature and creatures, all forms of creatures. I was talking about the mourning dove families here. And whenever things like that happen, for me, it's just such a blessing from nature that they chose our backyard to make their nest and have their sanctuary, raise their young, all that kind of stuff. Makes me feel like a grandparent. Not like a parent, because the parent's the ones doing all the work. The grandparents get to spoil the kids. Right? And so what a joy. And I know many of you are lovers of animals and nature and plants and the mineral kingdom and everything. And so all of that, when you look at that, there's a lot of animals suffering in the world at any given point. Treated, abused, treated cruelly, whatever, killed off. And so you might have a difficult time being aware of that and having joy, or even just plain old regular everyday kind of happiness. It's like, how can this guy be laughing when so much is wrong with the world? Oh, I'm laughing especially because so much is wrong with the world. I'm not laughing about what's wrong with the world. I'm doing my part to bring a little bit of spirit, a little bit of what is truly life. Not the life that everybody thinks about from birth to death, but the real life that is eternal. A little remembrance of that, a little taste of that, a little glimpse into the joyousness of eternal life. Easter also symbolizes that eternal life, doesn't it? Yeah. And did you notice, the Pesach, the Passover, we're in the midst of Passover week, right? And what's that about? Oh, both Easter and Passover are centered around miracles. Yes, miracles. Yeah, miracles, the stuff that's not supposed to happen. Nobody expects it to happen. You can't make it happen, but periodically they happen. And so these are, what people might consider to be huge miracles that happen with Passover, huge miracle that happened with resurrection, and everything leading up to it and afterwards. Many miracles. So we're celebrating what is holy. It doesn't matter what religion you follow, or what your personal spiritual practices or anything like that. The important thing is it's holy. It's holy because we're celebrating that which is whole, that which is unbroken, undivided. So whenever we experience and celebrate a holiday, a holy day, it's to remind ourselves, oh yeah, as spirit, I'm totally, completely undivided, as are each and every one of you.
Hey there. Thanks for listening to the show. If you're ready to take the next step on your spiritual path, develop your intuition, heal your spirit, and fulfill your life's purpose, please visit livethemiracle.com, our learning sanctuary for the soul.
Then, where does that lead us? If we're each and every one of us spirit, undivided, whole, limitless, guess what? There's only one of us. Right? Yeah, there's only one of us. There's, what is it now, close to 8 billion bodies running around, human bodies that is, running around all over the world. But there's still just one of us. What does that mean? So when we meditate, when we pray, when we reflect upon what is life, we have to come to this place of reflecting upon, life is one. Yet when we look with our physical eyes at the world, oh my goodness, there's wars there hasn't hardly been a time where there wasn't at least a dozen wars going on, little and big. And then when you just really take a few steps back and look at the long view of wars, well, wars are not necessarily just those that are fought with guns and bombs and missiles and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Every day, how many wars are going on within each of us? Because basically a war is when there's a conflict, there's a division in one's consciousness. If you're ever conflicted, shall I do this or shall I not do this? Do I have to do this or do I not have to do this? Shall I turn left or shall I turn right or keep going straight? What am I to do? When you're worried, when you have doubts, you're conflicted in your mind, right? In your consciousness is conflicted. One part of your consciousness is looking at one choice, the other part's looking at another choice, and you're trying to make a decision. Well, here's a simple trick. Every kind of decision you can possibly make begins with the most important decision of all. And this most important decision sets the pace for everything that happens after you make that decision. And what's that one decision? Well, remember, I mentioned spirit is undivided. So there's no choices needed in spirit. It's this world and every part of it, down to the final subatomic particle that makes up this universe. There's a choice. Because this is a world divided. It's created from polarity, positive, negative, male, female, Democrats and Republican, whatever polarity you want to look at, whatever seems like two, either or choice. And in the world, almost everybody thinks in terms of my choices between this or that. Well, there's only one of those kinds of either or choices that we have to make. And once we make the correct choice with that, then all other either or choices don't really matter. It's doing the best you can with it, making the choice that with all that you know and you have awareness of and you care about, whatever you make the choice, if it's strictly either or type of a choice, and go for it. Because if you make this first fundamental choice first, then all the choices that follow about this world, you're going to make the right choice. And what's this first choice that's so important? It's the choice, basically the only choice we have in relationship to spirit, the undivided, or the world, the body, the unit, the divided. And so when we make any choice from the perspective of the divided, the outcome is always going to be divided. But when we make the choice based on spirit, all that is holy, yeah? All that is undivided, whole. Then, whatever we do after that point, as long as we keep our attention, our sight on the undivided, and we're working toward the undivided, then we're going to make the choices that's going to make us closer to the undivided rather than further away, which means a healing choice. That's all what healing is, right? Healing is just restoring oneself to wholeness, which means becoming less divided and more undivided. More of your awareness, more of your energy, more of your life, you live in the undivided way, then you're healing yourself. No matter what's happening, the conditions of your body or even your mental health or whatever will go up and down as you're healing yourself, because that's just your experience in time and space. But as long as you know you're moving toward the undivided, every choice you're going to make is going to be a good choice for you, especially. But if you're making a choice from the more undivided side of things, then the choice you make, remember, we're all one. We're just one spirit. So you don't have to worry about every single person involved in making your choice in life. If you make the choice that's more toward the undivided, less toward the divided, then everyone that's involved, that's going to be the effect of or the benefit of the choice you make, is going to have the best possible choice. It's going to have the best possible outcome and experience. On an immediate level, it might not look like that because you make the correct choice that's moving not only you, but anyone you're related to toward more oneness, toward more limitless, undividedness. And another person involved, closely involved with you, might get upset initially. You got to let that happen. You got to let that be. You don't have to change your mind about that person, how much you love that person, just because they get upset. No. Especially if you love that person and they get upset, all the more important. Okay. You can't try to control them and make them not upset. That's their choice. And they're going through their upset 99 out of 100 times is that they're going through their initial healing process, which is a type of detoxing from whatever is more divided in you. All detoxing means is what doesn't agree with you, what's not undivided with you, what's divided from you, what's conflicting in you starts to come out. And hey, the only time we suffer, the only time we experience pain is in some kind of conflict where we're divided. In wholeness, there is no such thing as pain. There is no experience of suffering. No matter what happens, it's not there. So then, okay, this is when you start to look at life, this is the long view. The immediacy of what's going on right now in the physical thing may be really tough because you see someone suffering. But know that, if you end up going into suffering with them, then there's two of you suffering. You add to the suffering, the overall suffering, rather than subtract from it. But if you can remain neutral, if you can remain in truth and keep your sight on the undivided and bring in whatever joy that you have within you, that you're able to access within you. Because accessing joy is just accessing that unlimited, accessing the undivided, accessing what is holy. Contrary to popular belief, the holy is not untouchable. Well, untouchable in the physical sense. But just because holy is not untouchable in the physical sense doesn't mean you don't already have it in spirit within your own being. So you don't have to go very far for the holy. You just have to make a decision that that's where you're going. You're looking at the holy. You're looking at what's undivided. And as you look at with your two physical eyes at the world, all you're going to see with two eyes is the divided, because that's the entire world. Every little particle that makes up this world is divided into positive and negative. But when you start to practice looking with your single eye of spirit, then you start to look at what's undivided. And you'll see behind and beneath and inside of all that is divided in this world, in the whole universe, in all the divisions, all the wars, all the violence, all the abuse, you'll start to see, even so, the undivided remains. And the undivided, remember, doesn't change. It always remains. No matter what happens on the outside, on the inside, in spirit, it's always joyous, that's a inadequate word by far. But in the English language, that's about as close. Bliss, joy, ecstasy, whatever you want to say. But I prefer joy because, hey, joy is attainable. Whereas most people think bliss or ecstasy is hard to attain. No, joy is right there, right within you. It's in the middle of your being, if you will. It's in your heart, which is not your physical heart, but your heart is the foundation and the core of who you truly are, the inner sanctuary within your own being. And that is where joy resides. So, a most joyous Easter to each and every one of you. And those of you who've been troubled because you are so aware of all the suffering and pain in the world, whether it's the war in Ukraine or the political situation in the United States or the economic situations around the world or homelessness, whatever it is, or animal abuse, whatever it is that's been troubling you because you feel like you're having a great life, or especially comparatively, you're having a totally blessed life. What can you do for these people? Well, if you're, there's a lot of courageous souls that they're trained soldiers. They know how to handle themselves in a battlefront situation. And they have the courage in going, okay, this is the best gift I have to give to, let's say, the war going on in Ukraine, invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And they go, okay, I'm going to catch the next military flight, get on over there and help out in the battlefront. That's fantastic. But I'd be absolutely no use on the battlefront. I'd get people killed because, I'll be the one needing help and I don't know how to shoot and all that kind of stuff, right? So, and especially because I'll probably be the first one to get killed because I'd be laughing. So, some sniper will find me and says, oh, what's that idiot doing laughing? And just knock me off. What good would I do? Nothing. If anything, I'll do harm by going. Some people have an incredible organization that's already set to handle mass distribution of donations or food or shelter or whatever it is that they're great at doing. And then there's many, many people who work, whether it's paid or volunteer, they work in those places and are able to give their best to help out whatever cause that they're called to help. So if you're not a brain surgeon and somebody needs a brain surgery, are you going to punish yourself? Are you going to feel guilty that you couldn't save that person or you couldn't give them the brain surgery they needed? No, you're not trained for that. You don't have the experience. If you went into the operating room, well, just being there will probably get the people who know how to do that stuff, you'll be in their way, right? So you got to really look at, oh yeah, what am I here to contribute? What is it that I have to share, especially in situations where there's dire circumstances going on in the world? For some of us, that's prayer. For others of us, it's meditating on the situation, reflecting upon it, and seeing what's bringing it about and what's needed in the ultimate healing of it. Because the ultimate healing of anything, whether it's a virus epidemic or a war, isn't going to be waging the war. That's a temporary fix. That's for survival. That's to ensure that more people don't get killed, right? More property doesn't get destroyed. That's just the front line. But while those of us who are not on the front line, or even in the middle line, physically, we're in a position, and especially if you're having a great life, first thing, you got to bring that joy in, not only to your life, but to be able to share it with others. And, well, the people you share it with might not be those who are being directly affected by the pandemic or those who are directly affected by a war or anything. But in the greater scheme of things, you'll be the lighthouse. Any of you sailors out there, hey, if you ever sail in the middle of the night, on a moonless night especially, you're going to be looking for that lighthouse when you come near shore because you're not going to be able to see it. The lighthouse doesn't go running around all over the world just because there's an emergency. The lighthouse sits there in the same place. No matter what happens, whether it's a bright, beautiful day and night, or it's the darkest and the stormiest, treacherous night to sail through those high seas, the lighthouse just sits there and it shines. And just by standing at the same spot and shining its bright light, the sailors will recognize, oh, okay, that's not only the coastline coming up, so we have to go around it, but, oh, that must be the such and such lighthouse at such and such coordinates, and which means I have to head north from here if I'm going to get home, or if I'm going to get to safety, or whatever the case might be. The lighthouse lets you have your freedom and your choice to make the choice if you're the sea captain or if you're someone lost at sea. It doesn't go try to save you physically, but it stands its ground and shines its light. So anyone who looks for it will find it. And every single one of you is that lighthouse first and foremost. If you have a specialty that you would like to offer in some situation to help heal, help mitigate a crisis, whatever, by all means. But first, you have to recognize, first and foremost, you're that lighthouse. You could be a mobile lighthouse where you put yourself in the middle of a battlefield. But once you're there, you got to shine. You have to bring in that joy in some form or shape. And the other thing about joy is most people think joy means jumping up and down and celebrating and laughing and singing and shouting and everything. No. If that were the only way you can express your joy, that means you probably shouldn't go to a funeral. And you definitely shouldn't go to where there's a war going on, right? Because you'll be a nuisance. And probably the first one to be kicked out of the church or kicked out of killed in the war. But no, depending on the circumstances in the world, the joy is always there. So it needs to be expressed all the time. Joy can be expressed in the most silent, quiet level in meditation. Joy can be expressed by just a tiny act of kindness. Joy could be expressed as a compassion that you have for someone going through hardship. You're not running around making them casseroles, but you know they're having hardship, and your joy may go so much further for that person at that time than making a casserole. And if you like making a casserole, also, by all means. So anyway, but then again, you know, you bake a tuna casserole for a vegan vegetarian, they're not probably going to be able to enjoy it as much. So that's what I wanted to wish you all today, is a most joyous celebration of your life, of life eternal. And resurrecting yourself from the dead really means freeing yourself from the pull of your ego, the divided part in your mind that's always tugging at you, saying, do this, do that, don't do that, don't do this. And what if you do that? You're going to die, you're going to kill yourself, it's going to, all that noise. Really resurrecting yourself means recognizing, becoming aware, realizing the spirit, eternal limitlessness that you are, that you're undivided. And everything that the ego tries to con you into is from a divided place. That's all. So, happy Resurrection Day. Shine your light in the best way you know how. You don't have to go through immense work to do it right. Nah, just be yourself. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be with you always. Enjoy celebrating all that is holy to you today and every day. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
There's nothing but God's loving grace.